Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story. The alarm clock's harsh shriek jolted Amelia Carter from her dreams at 4:30 a.m., tearing her away from the few precious hours of sleep she managed between studying and working. Her amber eyes fluttered open, already stinging with exhaustion. But she forced herself upright in the narrow twin bed that had been hers since childhood. The small bedroom she shared with her younger sister was cramped but overflowing with love, family photos covering every surface, medical textbooks stacked in towering piles, and her sister's colorful artwork carefully taped to the walls. Amelia's reflection in the cracked mirror revealed the toll of her relentless schedule. Her warm brown skin, usually radiant with health and determination, appeared dull and stressed. Dark circles shadowed her expressive eyes, and her thick curly hair was twisted into a messy bun. At 22, she should have been glowing with youth, but the weight of her dreams and constant struggle to achieve them had aged her beyond her years. She dressed quickly in her cafe uniform, a simple white blouse and dark pants worn nearly every day for 2 years. The fabric was beginning to fray, but she couldn't afford new clothes when every penny went toward medical school tuition. As she tiptoed through the small apartment, she paused outside her parents' bedroom door, hearing her father's soft snores and her mother's gentle breathing. These two people had sacrificed everything for her dream of becoming a doctor, working multiple shifts, selling their few possessions, going without so she could have textbooks and lab fees. The morning air was crisp as Amelia walked 15 blocks downtown, unable to afford bus fare. She'd made this journey countless times, her feet knowing every crack in the sidewalk, every shortcut through narrow alleys. The cafe sat on a busy corner, its windows already glowing with warm light as early customers gathered. "You're late," snapped Victor before Amelia had even tied her apron. His cold eyes ran over her with obvious disdain. At 35, Victor Langston was a bitter man who seemed to take pleasure in making his employees miserable, especially Amelia. She'd noticed how he spoke differently to her than other workers, his voice dripping with condescension and barely concealed prejudice. "I'm actually 3 minutes early," Amelia replied quietly, checking the wall clock. She'd learned to document everything with this man, knowing he looked for any excuse to dock her pay. Victor's face reddened. "Don't get smart with me. Get to work and try not to screw anything up today." Amelia bit her tongue and moved to the espresso machine, her hands steady despite the anger simmering in her chest. She'd endured Victor's casual cruelty for 2 years because she desperately needed this job. The $300 she earned weekly, combined with her weekend library shifts, barely covered expenses, but it kept her dream alive. The morning rush began, and Amelia lost herself in the familiar rhythm of taking orders, pulling shots, and steaming milk. She genuinely enjoyed serving the regular customers, the elderly man who always ordered a simple black coffee and shared stories about his late wife, the young mother who came in exhausted but always managed a grateful smile, the college students cramming for exams just like her. These moments of human connection made the long hours bearable. Around 11, when the crowd had thinned, an older woman approached the counter looking confused and upset. "Mrs. Sophia Moretti was a regular customer, usually sharp as a tack despite her 78 years. But today she seemed lost. "I can't find my purse, Mrs. Moretti said, her voice shaking slightly. "I always put it right here in my bag, but it's gone. I must have left it at home, but I already ordered my coffee and scone." Amelia's heart went out to the woman immediately. "Don't worry about it, Mrs. Moretti. It happens to everyone. Your coffee is on the house today." No, I couldn't. Please, I insist. And here, take this scone too. You need to keep your strength up." Amelia packaged the woman's usual order with a warm smile, paying for it herself from her tip jar. "Mrs. Moretti's eyes filled with grateful tears. "You're an angel, dear. Thank you so much." But their exchange didn't go unnoticed. Victor had been watching from across the cafe, and as soon as Mrs. Moretti left, he stormed over with fury blazing in his eyes. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he hissed, grabbing Amelia's arm roughly. "You just gave away product without authorization." "She's an elderly, regular customer who forgot her purse," Amelia explained calmly, though her heart was racing. I paid for it myself from my tips. I was just being kind. Kind? Victor laughed harshly. This is a business, not a charity. And I don't care if you paid for it. You don't have the authority to make those decisions. You're just a coffee girl who thinks she's better than everyone else because she goes to college. The dismissive way he said college made Amelia's blood boil. She'd worked herself to exhaustion for years to earn her place in medical school, studying until her eyes burned, taking every extra shift available, sacrificing social events and sleep, and sometimes even meals. Her dreams weren't just personal ambitions. They were her chance to lift her family out of poverty and help other people the way she wished someone could help them. I was trying to provide good customer service, Amelia said, her voice steady but with steel underneath. Mrs. Moretti has been coming here for 3 years. She's never caused any trouble, and she was genuinely distressed. Sometimes being human is more important than following every rule to the letter. Victor's face turned an alarming shade of purple. Are you lecturing me about how to run my business? You're nothing but a waitress with delusions of grandeur. You think because you're in medical school that makes you special. Well, let me tell you something. That's enough. Amelia's voice cut through his tirade like a blade. She'd reached her breaking point after years of his casual cruelty and constant disrespect. I am not nothing. I work harder than anyone else in this cafe. I treat every customer with respect, and I've never missed a shift or shown up late. If treating an elderly woman with kindness is grounds for punishment in your establishment, then maybe you need to reconsider what kind of business you're running. The cafe had gone dead silent. Other customers were staring, some with their phones out, recording the confrontation. Victor's hands were shaking with rage, and Amelia realized she'd finally gone too far. You're fired. He spat. Get out of my cafe and don't come back, and don't expect any references from me. Amelia felt the world tilt around her. Those 2 words, you're fired, hit her like a physical blow. This job wasn't just income, it was her lifeline. Without it, she couldn't make her final tuition payment. Without that payment, she'd be dropped from medical school just 3 months before graduation. With trembling hands, she untied her apron and laid it on the counter. The other employees watched in shocked silence as she gathered her things, their faces reflecting sympathy and fear for their own jobs. Amelia walked to the door with her head held high, but the moment she stepped outside, her composure crumbled completely. She made it 2 blocks before the sobs overtook her. Ducking into an alley, Amelia slid down the brick wall until she was sitting on the cold concrete, her whole body shaking with the force of her grief. Everything she'd worked for, sacrificed for, dreamed of it, was all slipping away because she'd shown kindness to an elderly woman. The numbers swirled in her head like a nightmare. Tuition deadline tomorrow at 5:00 p.m. Amount needed $8,400. Money in her account, $237. Her parents had already borrowed against everything they owned. There was nowhere left to turn. Amelia pulled out her phone with hands that wouldn't stop trembling, staring at her father's contact. How could she call him? How could she tell him that after everything he and her mother had sacrificed, she was going to lose it all because of her pride? The man had worked 3 jobs to help pay for her education, and her mother cleaned offices until midnight to contribute what she could. But what choice did she have? In 29 hours, her dreams would die unless she found a miracle. Through her tears, Amelia began to type the most difficult message of her life. Chapter 2. A message that changes everything. Amelia's fingers trembled as she stared at her phone screen, tears blurring her vision. The cold concrete of the alley pressed against her back, but she barely felt it through the numbness that had settled over her like a heavy blanket. In less than 24 hours, her entire future would crumble unless she could find a miracle. The weight of her family's sacrifices pressed down on her chest, making it hard to breathe. She scrolled through her contacts until she found Dad and stared at the name for a long moment. William Carter had worked 3 jobs to help fund her education, driving for a delivery service during the day, stocking shelves at a grocery store in the evenings, and cleaning office buildings on weekends. Her mother, Grace, worked as a home health aide and cleaned houses on her days off. Both of them had given up everything they could possibly sacrifice, and Amelia knew they had nothing left to give. But what choice did she have? With shaking hands, she began to type, her heart breaking with every word. Dad, I'm so sorry to burden you with this, but I don't know where else to turn. I lost my job today because I stood up to my manager when he was treating people badly. The tuition deadline is tomorrow at 5 o'clock p.m. $8,400, and I only have $230 in my account. I know you and Mom have already given everything, and I hate myself for even asking, but I don't know what else to do. My dreams are dying, Dad. Everything we've worked for, everything you've sacrificed, I'm going to lose it all. I've tried everywhere. Financial aid, emergency loans, everything. There's nothing left. I'm so scared, and I feel lost. I love you both so much, and I'm sorry for being such a burden. I understand if there's nothing you can do. I just needed to tell someone who loves me that I tried my best. Amelia's vision was so blurred with tears that she could barely see the screen. Her thumb hovered over the send button for several seconds as she gathered courage to break her father's heart. Finally, she pressed send and immediately buried her face in her hands, sobbing with the force of a dam breaking. Meanwhile, 3,000 miles away, in his glass-walled corner office on the 42nd floor of Bennett Tower in downtown Seattle, Nathan Bennett sat in a leather chair worth more than most people's cars, staring out at the city skyline with empty eyes. At 30, he was worth $4, $2 billion, and commanded an empire spanning technology, real estate, and renewable energy. His sharp jawline and slate-blue eyes had graced magazine covers, and his rare public appearances sent stock prices soaring. But none of it meant anything anymore. The boardroom behind him was filled with executives discussing quarterly projections and market expansion, their voices a distant hum that he'd stopped listening to an hour ago. These meetings had become a meaningless routine, wealthy men in expensive suits moving numbers around to make more numbers, all of them desperate for his approval, but none of them truly knowing him. Nathan's childhood had been spent in boarding schools while his parents built their own empire, leaving him with a trust fund instead of affection and stock portfolios instead of bedtime stories. He'd inherited their business acumen, but not their coldness, which left him isolated in a world where everyone wanted something from him. Women approached him for his money, men sought his influence, and genuine connections felt impossible when everyone had an agenda. His phone buzzed with what he assumed was another meaningless business message. He almost ignored it, but something made him glance at the screen. The number was unfamiliar, and the preview showed text that began with, "Dad, I'm so sorry." Curious, despite himself, Nathan opened the message and began to read. By the second sentence, his breath caught in his throat. By the end, something inside his chest had cracked wide open. Here was raw, desperate honesty, unlike anything he'd encountered in his sterile world of corporate speak and calculated politeness. This wasn't someone asking for an investment or trying to impress him with a business proposal. This was a young woman pouring her heart out to her father, sharing her fears and dreams with such vulnerable honesty that it made Nathan's throat tight. He read the message 3 times, each word hitting him like a physical blow. The pain in those sentences was so palpable, he could feel it radiating from his phone screen. Someone out there was watching their dreams die despite working harder than anyone in his boardroom ever had. Someone who stood up for what was right, even when it cost them everything. Everything we've worked for, everything you've sacrificed. Those words echoed in Nathan's mind. When was the last time anyone had sacrificed anything for him that wasn't motivated by profit? When had anyone ever worked that hard for a dream that didn't involve taking something from someone else? Mr. Bennett, his assistant's voice cut through his thoughts. The board is ready for your input on the Beijing acquisition. Nathan looked up at the room full of expectant faces, men who would step over their own mothers for a percentage point of profit margin. Then he looked back at his phone at this message from someone who had lost everything because she'd shown kindness to an elderly woman. "Excuse me for a moment," he said, standing abruptly and walking out of the boardroom. The executives exchanged confused glances, but Nathan didn't care. For the first time in months, something mattered more than their endless pursuit of additional zeros in their bank accounts. In his private office, Nathan sat at his desk and pulled up his banking app. His fingers hovered over the screen as he reread the message. Ba. Sibei. It was less than what he spent on a single dinner at his usual restaurant. It was pocket change, meaningless in the context of his wealth. But to this young woman, Amelia, he noticed from the contact information, it was everything. The pain in her words reminded him of his own darkest moments. The nights in boarding school when he'd cried himself to sleep, feeling abandoned and unloved, The years of building his empire while feeling completely empty inside. Successful by every measure, except the only one that mattered. He told himself that loneliness was the price of success, but reading Amelia's message made him realize how desperately he longed for the kind of genuine love she described with her family. I just needed to tell someone who loves me that I tried my best. When was the last time someone had loved Nathan for who he was rather than what he could provide? When had anyone ever been proud of him simply for trying his best? Without allowing himself to overthink it, Nathan initiated a wire transfer. He typed in Amelia's account information, visible from her message signature, and entered the amount, $8,400. Then he paused, his finger hovering over the confirmation button. This was insane. He was about to send money to a complete stranger, based on a mistaken text message. His lawyers would have him committed. His board of directors would question his sanity. Every rational part of his mind screamed that this was foolish. But for the first time in years, Nathan wasn't listening to the rational part of his mind. He was listening to the part that recognized something pure and genuine when he saw it. The part that was tired of living in a world where everything had a price and nothing had value. He pressed confirm. The transfer went through immediately, and Nathan felt something he hadn't experienced in longer than he could remember. Satisfaction that had nothing to do with profit margins or quarterly reports. Somewhere out there, a young woman's dreams were about to be saved. Someone who deserved good things was about to receive them, not because of who she knew or what she could offer in return, but simply because she needed help, and he could provide it. Nathan leaned back in his chair and looked out at the city skyline again. But this time it looked different. The glass and steel towers no longer seemed like monuments to isolation, but possibilities for connection. For the first time in months, he was eager to see what happened next. He'd always believed that money couldn't buy happiness, but maybe, just maybe, it could buy something even better. Maybe it could buy hope for someone who deserved it more than anyone he'd ever met. Nathan saved Amelia's number in his phone, though he told himself he'd probably never use it again. This was a one-time gesture, a moment of impulse that would fade back into his routine of meetings and mergers. But deep in his chest, something had awakened, something that wanted to know more about the young woman who signed her message with so much love, who worked multiple jobs to chase a dream of helping others, who lost everything because she'd shown kindness to a stranger. For the first time in years, Nathan Bennett was genuinely curious about another human being. And that curiosity was about to change both their lives forever. Chapter 3. When hearts recognize each other, Amelia barely slept that night, tossing restlessly as anxiety churned in her stomach. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the clock ticking toward 5 o'clock p.m. He saw her dreams slipping away with each passing second. When her phone buzzed at 6:47 a.m. with a banking notification, she almost ignored it. Probably another reminder about her pathetically low balance, but something made her check anyway. Her heart stopped. The screen showed a deposit of $8,400 posted at 11:23 p.m. the previous night. Amelia blinked hard. Certain she was hallucinating from stress and exhaustion, she closed the app and reopened it. The number remained, glowing like a miracle. "Oh my God," she whispered, hands beginning to shake. "Oh my God." She shot up in bed, nearly waking her sister, and crept out on trembling legs. Her parents' bedroom door was closed, but she could hear her father's alarm. He had an early delivery shift. Amelia paced the small living room, staring at her phone, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Dad had done it. Somehow, impossibly, her father had found the money. He must have taken another loan, borrowed against something else, maybe asked his brother for help, despite their strained relationship. The thought of what this sacrifice might have cost him made Amelia's chest tight with guilt and overwhelming gratitude. When William Carter emerged from the bedroom 20 minutes later, already dressed in his delivery uniform, he found his daughter waiting with tears streaming down her face. "Daddy," Amelia whispered, throwing her arms around him with such force that he stumbled backward. "Thank you. Thank you so much. I can't believe you found a way. I know what this must have cost you and Mom. And I promise I'll pay back every penny. I'll work 3 jobs if I have to. Slow down, baby girl." William held his daughter at arm's length, his weathered face creased with confusion. "What are you talking about?" "The money," Amelia said, wiping her eyes. "The tuition payment. Dad, you saved my life. You saved my dreams." William's confusion deepened. "Amelia, honey, what money?" "I got your text last night, and it broke my heart. But, baby, we don't have that kind of money. Your mother and I talked for hours trying to figure out something, anything. But you sent me $8,400 last night," Amelia interrupted, holding up her phone. "Look, it's right here, posted at 11:23 p.m. William took the phone and stared at the screen, his eyes widening. "Amelia, I didn't send this. I don't even know how to make a bank transfer that large. And even if I did, we don't have this money." The words hit Amelia like ice water. If her father hadn't sent the money, then who? With growing dread, she opened her text messages and scrolled to the conversation from the night before. She'd been so distraught, so blinded by tears, that she hadn't double-checked the number. Now, looking at it with clear eyes, she saw the horrifying truth. The number was wrong. She'd missed a digit in her panic, and her desperate, heartbroken message had gone to a complete stranger. "Oh no," Amelia breathed, sinking onto the couch as the full magnitude of her mistake hit her. "Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. What is it, baby?" "Dad, I sent that message to the wrong number." Amelia's voice was barely audible. "Some stranger just sent me $8,400 because they thought I was asking them for help." William sat down beside his daughter, his face grave. "We have to return it immediately." "I know," Amelia said, though the words felt like swallowing glass. Returning the money meant watching her dreams die all over again, but keeping money that didn't belong to her was unthinkable. Her parents had raised her better than that. With shaking fingers, Amelia initiated the transfer to return the money, then began typing what felt like the most mortifying message of her life. "I am so incredibly sorry. I cannot even begin to express how embarrassed and horrified I am right now. Last night, I was trying to text my father about my financial situation, but in my distress, I somehow sent it to your number by mistake. I have immediately returned your money. I never meant to bother you or ask a stranger for help. I was emotional and panicked and made a terrible error. Thank you for your kindness to a stranger, but I cannot and will not accept money that isn't meant for me. Again, I am so very sorry for disturbing you. Please forgive my mistake." She read the message 3 times, making sure it struck the right tone of humility and gratitude without seeming like she was fishing for the money back. Finally, she hit send and immediately put her phone face down on the coffee table, too mortified to look at it. "You did the right thing," William said, putting his arm around his daughter's shoulders. "I'm proud of you for returning it, even though I know how much it hurt." Amelia nodded, not trusting her voice. She had done the right thing, but it felt like carving out her own heart. She was right back where she started, worse, actually, because now she'd humiliated herself in front of a stranger who'd only been trying to help. 3,000 miles away, Nathan was having his first peaceful morning in months. He'd slept better than he had in weeks, waking up with an unfamiliar sense of anticipation. The memory of Amelia's message and his impulsive gesture made him feel more alive than any business deal ever had. He was reviewing reports over coffee when his phone chimed with a banking notification. Amelia Carter had returned his money transfer, every penny of it. Nathan stared at the notification in disbelief. In his world, money flowed in one direction toward him. People asked for investments, for loans, for handouts, but no one ever returned money he'd freely given. The gesture was so unexpected, so contrary to everything he'd experienced, that he had to read the notification twice to believe it. Then came her message. Nathan read it once, then immediately read it again. The tone was so different from her first message, formal where the other had been raw, apologetic where the other had been desperate. But underneath the careful politeness, he could sense the same genuine heart that had moved him so deeply the night before. She'd returned money she desperately needed because she believed it was the right thing to do. In a world where people would sue their own grandmothers for stock options, Amelia Carter had given back a fortune because it wasn't rightfully hers. Nathan found himself smiling for the first time in weeks. He began typing his response, choosing each word carefully. "Please don't apologize. Your message last night was the most genuine thing I've read in years. I sent that money because I wanted to help someone who clearly deserved it, not because I was obligated to. Mistakes happen, but your character shines through in how you've handled this. Keep the money. When you're able, when you're ready, you can pay it forward to someone else who needs help. Focus on your dreams for now." He paused before adding, "Also, once upon a time, I was lost, too. I know how it feels to have no one believe in you. Sometimes we all need someone to believe in us when we can't believe in ourselves." Nathan hit send before he could second-guess himself. He'd revealed more to this stranger in a few sentences than he had to anyone in years. Something about Amelia's honesty had unlocked a part of him he'd thought was permanently sealed away. When Amelia's phone buzzed 20 minutes later, she was helping her mother prepare breakfast, trying to act normal despite the fact that her world was crumbling. She glanced at the phone reluctantly, expecting maybe a formal acknowledgement of her apology. Instead, she found something that made her breath catch. "Mom," Amelia called softly, her voice filled with wonder. "You need to read this." Grace Carter dried her hands on a dish towel and came to read over her daughter's shoulder. By the end of the message, both women had tears in their eyes. "He wants you to keep it," Grace whispered. "This stranger wants you to keep the money." "But I can't," Amelia said, though her heart was racing with hope. "I can't accept charity from someone I don't even know." "Baby," her mother said gently, "sometimes angels come in unexpected forms. This person isn't asking for anything in return. They just want to help you achieve your dreams." Amelia read the message again, focusing on the last part. "I was lost, too. I know how it feels to have no one believe in you." Whoever this person was, they understood pain. They understood what it felt like to be alone and struggling. And somehow, through her desperate mistake, she connected with someone who wanted to help, simply because they could. For the first time since yesterday's disaster, Amelia felt something besides despair. She felt hope and curiosity. Who was this mysterious person who had shown such incredible kindness to a stranger? She began typing her response, her heart pounding with each word. "I don't know what to say except thank you. Your kindness means more than you'll ever know, not just the money, but your words. It's been a long time since someone told me they believed in me. I promise I'll pay it forward when I'm able. And someday, when I'm Dr. Amelia Carter, I'll make sure your faith in me wasn't misplaced." She hesitated, then added, "Can I ask your name? I'd like to know who my guardian angel is." This time, Amelia didn't put her phone face down. She held it in her hands, staring at the screen, waiting for a response from the stranger who was changing her life. And for the first time since this whole nightmare began, she found herself genuinely curious about what would happen next. Chapter 4. Souls on Fire. "My name is Nathan," came the response an hour later. "And you're going to be an incredible doctor, Amelia. I can feel it." Amelia stared at the simple message, but something about it made her pulse quicken in a way she couldn't explain. Just her name from his fingers felt intimate somehow. She found herself wondering what his voice sounded like. What kind of person chose to help a stranger without expecting anything in return? "Nathan," she typed back, testing out his name. "Thank you for believing in me. Can I ask what you do? I feel like I should know something about the person who saved my dreams." The response took longer this time, and Amelia found herself checking her phone every few minutes, eager for his reply, in a way that surprised her. "I work in technology and investments. Nothing as meaningful as medicine." "What made you want to become a doctor?" Amelia smiled at the deflection. Nathan seemed as reluctant to discuss himself as he was generous with others. She settled into her narrow bed, pulling her knees to her chest as she typed a response. "When I was 12, my grandmother had a stroke. The doctor in the ER was this incredible woman, Dr. Lopez. She was brilliant and kind, and she held my hand while explaining what was happening in words I could understand. She saved my grandmother's life. But more than that, she made me feel less scared and helpless. I want to be that person for someone else's family." "That's beautiful. Your grandmother was lucky to have you there." "She passed away last year," Amelia admitted, surprised by how easy it was to share something so personal with this stranger. "But I know she'd be proud of where I am now. She always said I had healing hands. I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm certain she'd be incredibly proud. What's been the hardest part of medical school?" And just like that, they were talking, really talking in a way Amelia hadn't experienced with anyone in years. Nathan asked thoughtful questions and gave responses that showed he was truly listening. Their conversation flowed from her studies to his work, from their families to their dreams, each message building a bridge between their vastly different worlds. "What's it like being in technology?" Amelia asked late that first evening. "It must be exciting to be part of innovation." "It can be," Nathan replied. "But sometimes I feel like I'm solving problems that don't really matter, making rich people richer, creating solutions for problems that only exist because we have too much money and too little purpose. Your work will actually save lives." "But technology connects people," Amelia pointed out. "It gives people access to information, opportunities they wouldn't have otherwise. That matters too. I never thought of it that way. You have a gift for seeing the good in things. And you have a gift for helping people. Not everyone would have done what you did for me. Maybe I was just being selfish. Helping you made me feel more useful than anything I've done in years." Amelia found herself smiling at her phone, charmed by his honesty. There was something so genuine about Nathan, so different from the guys at school who seemed to be performing masculinity rather than just being themselves. The days passed in a blur of classes and constant texting. Amelia would wake up to messages from Nathan, sharing thoughts he'd had during his evening or asking about her day ahead. She'd respond between lectures, finding herself eager to share even the smallest details of her life with him. During boring seminars, she'd draft longer messages about her thoughts on healthcare policy or her dreams for the future, and Nathan would respond with insights that showed he understood not just her words, but the passion behind them. "I had the most amazing surgery observation today," Amelia texted one afternoon. "A cardiac surgeon repaired a child's heart defect, and it was like watching magic. The precision, the knowledge, the way everyone worked together to save this little boy's life. I've never wanted anything more than I want to be part of that world. The way you describe it makes me want to watch too. You make everything sound beautiful. What makes you feel that way? What gives you that sense of purpose?" The question seemed to catch Nathan off guard, because his response took longer than usual. "Honestly, until a few weeks ago, I would have said nothing. I've been going through the motions for so long that I'd forgotten what it felt like to be excited about anything. But talking to you, it reminds me that there are still good people in the world doing meaningful work. You're good people too, Nathan. You changed my entire life because you saw someone in pain and decided to help. That says everything about who you are. You give me too much credit. I don't think I give you enough." Their conversations grew deeper as the weeks passed. Nathan shared stories about his lonely childhood, the boarding schools where he'd learned to be self-sufficient but never learned to truly connect with others. Amelia told him about growing up in a house full of love but empty of money, about the way her parents' sacrifices motivated her to work harder than everyone around her. "Do you ever feel guilty about your success?" Amelia asked one evening. "Like maybe you don't deserve it when other people struggle so much?" "Every day," Nathan admitted. "I inherited most of my opportunities. You've earned every single one of yours. But you could have been entitled and selfish with those opportunities. Instead, you help people like me. That's a choice, not an accident. You're going to make me believe I'm actually a good person if you keep this up. You are a good person. I can tell in the way you write, the questions you ask, the way you really listen to the answers. When was the last time someone told you that?" Again, a long pause. "I honestly can't remember." Amelia's heart ached for him. She was beginning to understand that beneath his success and generosity, Nathan was just as lonely as she had been desperate. They were both missing something essential. She had love but lacked opportunity, while he had every opportunity but felt starved for genuine connection. "Well, I'm telling you now," she typed. "You're kind, thoughtful, generous, and incredibly easy to talk to. Any person would be lucky to have you in their life. Even a brilliant medical student who's going to change the world." Amelia stared at that message for a long time, her heart racing. Was he flirting with her? The thought sent electricity through her veins in a way that both thrilled and terrified her. "Especially her," she finally replied, surprised by her own boldness. "Amelia. Yes, I know this is crazy, but I feel like I've been waiting my whole life to talk to someone the way I talk to you." Amelia's breath caught. She read the message 3 times, each reading making her heart beat faster. She was falling for him. This man she'd never met, whose face she'd never seen, whose voice she'd never heard. Somehow, through nothing but words on a screen, he'd found his way into her heart. "It's not crazy." She typed with trembling fingers. "I feel it too, like you understand parts of me that I never even understood myself. I want to know everything about you. Your favorite color, what makes you laugh, what you dream about when you're falling asleep. I want to know all of it." "Blue," Amelia replied, smiling so wide her cheeks hurt. "The color of the ocean just before sunset. And you make me laugh. Your dry sense of humor. The way you act like you're not funny when you're actually hilarious. And lately, I dream about meeting you. You dream about meeting me? Is that too forward? It's perfect because I dream about meeting you too." They stayed up until 3 o'clock a.m. that night, trading confessions and dreams, favorite memories and deepest fears. Amelia learned that Nathan played piano when he was stressed, that he'd never been in love before, that he sometimes felt like he was living someone else's life. Nathan discovered that Amelia sang in the shower, that she made the world's worst coffee despite working in a cafe for 2 years, that she had a laugh that could probably power a small city if someone could figure out how to harness it. "I have a confession," Nathan typed as the sun was beginning to rise. "Tell me. I've never felt about anyone the way I'm starting to feel about you, and we've never even met." Amelia's heart soared and plummeted at the same time. She was falling for him, too, harder and faster than she'd ever fallen for anyone. But how could you love someone you'd never seen? How could you build a relationship on text messages and late-night confessions? "I feel the same way," she admitted. "It scares me how much I look forward to your messages. You're the first thing I think about when I wake up and the last thing I think about before I fall asleep. Then maybe it's time we met in person." Amelia stared at those words, her pulse racing. Part of her desperately wanted to say yes, to finally put a face to the man who'd captured her heart with nothing but kindness and conversation. But another part of her was terrified. What if the magic they'd found in their words didn't translate to real life? What if he was disappointed when he saw her? What if this beautiful connection they'd built came crashing down the moment reality intruded? "I want to," she typed honestly, "but I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of losing this. What we have right now is perfect. What if meeting in person ruins it?" "Amelia, nothing could ruin what we have. And I think you might be surprised by how perfect this could become. You really want to meet me?" "More than I've ever wanted anything." Amelia closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Love required courage, and if medical school had taught her anything, it was that the most worthwhile things in life required taking risks. "Okay," she typed. "Let's meet. Really. Really. But somewhere public. I may be falling for you, but I'm not stupid. Smart and beautiful. I'm a lucky man. You think I'm beautiful, and you've never seen me. I can tell. It's in everything you write, everything you are. Beauty like yours comes from the inside out." Amelia felt tears prick her eyes, but for once they were tears of joy rather than desperation. In a few short weeks, this incredible man had become essential to her happiness. She was about to meet the person who'd saved her dreams and stolen her heart. She had no idea she was about to fall in love with someone who would change not just her circumstances, but her entire world. Chapter 5. When lightning strikes. Amelia changed her outfit 4 times before settling on a simple but elegant navy dress that brought out her amber eyes and hugged her curves perfectly. She'd spent an hour on her hair, letting her natural curls fall in soft waves around her shoulders, and applied just enough makeup to highlight her features without appearing overdone. Her hands trembled as she applied lip gloss one final time. Meeting at Rosé Cafe at 2 p.m. Nathan had texted that morning. "I'll be the nervous guy in the corner, probably checking my phone every 30 seconds. How will I recognize you?" Amelia had replied, her stomach doing flips. "You'll know." And somehow she believed him. The cafe Nathan had chosen was in the Arts District, a cozy place with exposed brick walls, local artwork, and an atmosphere that invited long conversations. Amelia arrived 15 minutes early, her pulse hammering as she scanned the space. A few couples sat at small tables. A woman with a laptop worked in one corner, and an elderly man read a newspaper by the window. But no, Nathan. Amelia ordered a latte she was too nervous to drink and claimed a table near the window. checking her phone obsessively. What if he didn't show? What if he changed his mind? What if this whole thing had been some elaborate joke? At exactly 2 p.m., the cafe door opened, and Amelia's entire world shifted. The man who walked in was nothing like what she'd imagined, yet somehow exactly what she'd hoped for. He was tall, probably 6'2", with broad shoulders that filled out his charcoal gray sweater perfectly. His dark hair was slightly tousled, as if he'd run his fingers through it nervously. And when he turned to scan the cafe, Amelia saw the slate blue eyes she'd imagined so many times. But it was more than his physical beauty that made her breath catch. It was the way he moved with quiet confidence, the way his gaze swept the room with intelligence and caution, the way his mouth curved into the hint of a smile when their eyes met across the crowded space. Nathan froze the moment he saw her. Every rational thought fled his mind as he took in the vision sitting by the window. Warm brown skin that seemed to glow in the afternoon sunlight, eyes like warm amber that held intelligence, kindness, and something that made his chest tight with longing. Her smile was radiant, lighting up her entire face and making him forget why he'd spent 30 years thinking he understood what beauty meant. For several heartbeats, they simply stared at each other across the cafe, the space between them crackling with electricity. Amelia felt like she was drowning in those blue eyes, and Nathan felt like he'd been struck by lightning. Finally, Nathan moved toward her table, his steps deliberate, but his pulse racing like a teenager's. Amelia stood as he approached, and when they were finally face to face, the intensity of their connection was almost overwhelming. "Amelia," Nathan said, and his voice was exactly what she'd imagined, deep, warm, with just a hint of roughness that made her skin tingle. "Nathan," she breathed, and the way his name sounded on her lips made something primal surge in his chest. For a moment, they just stood there, drinking each other in. Amelia had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes, and Nathan found himself fighting the urge to reach out and touch her face to make sure she was real. Nathan started, then stopped, shaking his head with a soft laugh. "You're even more beautiful than I imagined." Amelia felt heat rise in her cheeks. "You say that like you imagined me often." "Every day," Nathan admitted without hesitation. "Every single day." The honesty in his voice made Amelia's knees weak. They stood there for another long moment, lost in each other's eyes, until Amelia finally laughed. A sound like music that made Nathan's heart skip several beats. "Should we sit down before we cause a scene?" she suggested, though part of her wanted to keep standing close enough to count the flecks of silver in his eyes. "Right, yes," Nathan said, moving to pull out her chair. The simple gesture was so natural, so gentlemanly, that Amelia felt another piece of her heart tumble into his hands. When they were seated across from each other, Nathan reached for his coffee and immediately knocked over the sugar dispenser, sending white granules scattering across the table. "Smooth," he muttered, his cheeks reddening as he tried to clean up the mess. Amelia laughed again, the sound making Nathan's clumsiness worth every second of embarrassment. "You know, for a billionaire tech mogul, you're surprisingly human." Nathan's hand stilled. "Millionaire. I may have Googled you," Amelia admitted, her own cheeks flushing. "Nathan Bennett, CEO of Bennett Enterprises. I have to say, your Wikipedia page doesn't do you justice. You researched me." Nathan's voice held a mixture of amusement and something else, vulnerability, maybe even fear. "Don't look so worried," Amelia said gently. "I didn't find any secret wife or criminal history. Just a very successful businessman who apparently donates more money to charity in a year than most people see in a lifetime." Nathan relaxed slightly. "I was afraid you'd find out about my obsession with terrible reality television shows." "Oh, that's not on Wikipedia," Amelia teased. "What's your guilty pleasure? Bachelor in Paradise? Real Housewives?" "Baking competitions," Nathan admitted with a sheepish grin. "I have no idea how to cook anything more complicated than cereal, but I can tell you everything about the proper technique for tempering chocolate." Amelia burst into laughter, and Nathan felt like he'd won the lottery just hearing that sound. "That's adorable. I would never have guessed. What about you? Any hidden addictions I should know about?" "Korean dramas," Amelia confessed. "I've cried over fictional characters more times than I can count. My sister thinks I'm insane." "You have a sister?" "Zoe. She's 17 and about 1,000 times cooler than I'll ever be." She wants to be a filmmaker. Amelia's face lit up when she talked about her family, and Nathan found himself falling even deeper into those warm eyes. "Tell me about her," Nathan said, settling back in his chair. "Tell me about all of them." And Amelia did. She told him about Zoe's dreams and attitude, about her father's 3 jobs and unshakable optimism, about her mother's strength and endless capacity for love. Nathan listened to every word, asking questions that showed he genuinely cared about the people who mattered to Amelia. In return, Nathan shared stories he'd never told anyone, about the loneliness of his childhood, the weight of expectations, the way success had isolated him from genuine connections. Amelia listened without judgment, her eyes full of understanding and something that looked like affection. "You know what's funny?" Amelia said after Nathan finished telling her about his first disastrous board meeting at 18. "When I was researching you, I kept thinking about how intimidating you must be in person. Powerful, commanding, probably a little scary." And now Amelia studied his face, the laugh lines around his eyes, the way he listened with his whole body, the gentle way he'd cleaned up his spilled sugar without making a fuss. "Now I think you're just a man who learned to be strong because he had to be, but who's actually incredibly kind underneath all that power." Nathan felt something crack open in his chest. "Amelia, what? I need you to know something." Nathan leaned forward, his voice dropping to something almost intimate. "I've dated women who wanted my money, women who wanted my connections, women who wanted to be seen with me for the status. But no one has ever looked at me the way you're looking at me right now. How am I looking at you? Like you see me, the real me, not the public version or the business persona, just me." Amelia reached across the table without thinking, covering his hand with hers. The moment their skin touched, electricity shot up both their arms, and Nathan turned his hand palm up to intertwine their fingers. "I do see you," Amelia said softly. "I've been seeing you for weeks, Nathan, in every message, every conversation, every moment of kindness you've shown me. The man sitting across from me is exactly who I thought you'd be." Nathan lifted their joined hands and pressed a soft kiss to Amelia's knuckles, his eyes never leaving hers. The gesture was so tender, so intimate, that Amelia felt tears prick her eyes. "I want to know everything about you," Nathan said against her skin. "Every dream, every fear, every moment that made you who you are." "We have time," Amelia whispered, though part of her wanted to tell him everything right now, wanted to pour out her entire soul across this small cafe table. "Do we?" Nathan asked, his thumb tracing patterns on her palm. "Because right now it feels like I've waited my whole life to meet you, and a few hours isn't nearly enough." Amelia felt her heart race at the intensity in his voice. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I don't want this afternoon to end. I want to take you to dinner, and then maybe walk through the city until the sun comes up. I want to show you my favorite places and hear about yours. I want to learn whether you're as amazing in person as you are in text messages. And if I am?" Nathan's smile was soft, but held promises that made Amelia's pulse flutter. "Then I'm going to fall completely and irrevocably in love with you, Amelia." Amelia breathed, but she didn't know how to finish that sentence. Because looking into his eyes, feeling the warmth of his hand in hers, she realized she was already halfway there herself. "Too much?" Nathan asked, reading the overwhelmed expression on her face. "No," Amelia said quickly. "Not too much, just unexpected. I came here thinking I was meeting a friend, someone who'd help me out of a difficult situation." And now Amelia looked at their joined hands, at the way he was watching her with such intensity, at the way her entire body hummed with awareness of him. "Now I'm thinking I might be in serious trouble. The best kind of trouble." Amelia met his eyes and smiled, her decision made, "The very best kind. Yes to dinner. Yes to walking around the city. Yes to all of it." Nathan's answering smile was brilliant enough to power the entire cafe. "Then let's get started on Forever." Chapter 6. Falling into Forever. Their first date lasted 14 hours. Nathan took Amelia to dinner at a small Italian restaurant tucked away in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place with checkered tablecloths and wine bottles covered in candle wax. They talked through 3 courses and 2 bottles of wine, their conversation flowing as naturally as if they'd known each other for years. Amelia told him about her first day of medical school, how she'd been so nervous she'd thrown up in the parking lot. Nathan shared his terror during his first business presentation when he'd been so intimidated by the board that he'd accidentally called the chairman Dad. After dinner, they walked through the city streets hand in hand, stopping to listen to street musicians and window shop at closed boutiques. When Amelia shivered in the cool evening air, Nathan immediately shrugged out of his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. The gesture was simple, but the careful attention to her comfort made Amelia's pulse flutter. "You don't have to take care of me," she said softly as they paused under a streetlight. "I want to," Nathan replied, adjusting the jacket around her. "I've never wanted to take care of someone the way I want to take care of you." They found themselves at the waterfront as the sun began to rise, sitting on a bench overlooking the harbor. Amelia was curled against Nathan's side, his arm around her shoulders, both of them exhausted but reluctant to let the night end. "I should probably go home," Amelia murmured against his chest, though she made no move to leave. "Probably," Nathan agreed, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "But I don't want you to." "What do you want?" Nathan was quiet for a long moment, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her arm. "I want to spend every day getting to know you better. I want to hear your voice when I wake up, and be the last person you talk to before you fall asleep. I want to watch you become the incredible doctor I know you're going to be." Amelia tilted her head to look at him, surprised by the intensity in his voice. "Nathan, I know it's crazy," he said quickly. "We just met in person today. But, Amelia, I've never felt anything like this before. Being with you feels like coming home." Amelia reached up to touch his face, her thumb tracing the line of his jaw. "It's not crazy. I feel it too." When Nathan finally drove her home in a sleek black car that probably cost more than her parents' house, Amelia found herself reluctant to get out. They sat in the driveway for another hour, talking and laughing, until her parents' bedroom light came on. "I should go," Amelia said, though her hand was still in his. "When can I see you again?" Nathan asked. "When do you want to see me again? Now? Tomorrow? Every day for the rest of my life?" Amelia laughed, but her heart was racing. "I have classes tomorrow. Advanced pathology at 9 o'clock, clinical skills lab at 2. What time does your last class end?" 4:30. "I'll pick you up at 4:30. Amelia stared at him. "Nathan, you can't just rearrange your entire schedule around mine. Don't you have a company to run?" Nathan brought her hand to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to her palm. "The company will survive. Right now, the only thing that matters is spending time with you." The next day, Amelia found herself checking her phone constantly during lectures, reading and rereading Nathan's good morning text. When she walked out of her final class, he was there, leaning against his car with a bouquet of sunflowers, her favorite, though she couldn't remember telling him that. "How did you know?" she asked, burying her face in the bright blooms. "You mentioned them in one of your texts," Nathan said, looking pleased with himself. "You said your grandmother grew them in her garden." The fact that he'd remembered such a small detail made Amelia's chest tight with emotion. "You pay attention to everything, don't you?" "When it comes to you?" "Absolutely." This became their routine. Every day after classes, Nathan would be waiting for her. Sometimes he'd take her to lunch at hole-in-the-wall restaurants she'd never heard of. Other times they'd visit museums or art galleries, Nathan watching Amelia more than the exhibits, fascinated by her reactions to everything around her. One afternoon, Amelia emerged from her biochemistry lecture to find Nathan talking animatedly with Dr. Emily Wong, her favorite professor. Both of them looked up as she approached, wearing expressions that made Amelia immediately suspicious. What's going on?" Amelia asked, looking between them. "Mr. Bennett was just telling me about the research facility his company is funding." "Dr. Wong said with a smile. "The one that's going to focus on developing more affordable medical equipment for underserved communities." Amelia's eyes widened as she turned to Nathan. "You're funding medical research?" Nathan's cheeks reddened slightly. "It's not a big deal. I just thought, with your passion for helping people who can't afford proper health care, maybe there was a way I could contribute." "Not a big deal, Dr. Wong interjected. "Mr. Bennett, this is a $20 million commitment to medical research. I'd say that's quite a big deal." Amelia felt tears prick her eyes. Nathan had listened to her talk about healthcare inequality and had decided to do something about it, not just write a check, but fund actual research that could change lives. Why didn't you tell me? Amelia asked as they walked away from the building. Because I didn't want you to think I was trying to impress you, Nathan said honestly. I wanted to do it because it mattered to you, not because I thought it would make you like me more. Amelia stopped walking and turned to face him. Nathan Bennett. Yes, you're incredible, Amelia Carter. Yes. You're going to make me fall completely in love with you if you keep looking at me like that. Like what? Like I'm the best thing that's ever happened to you. Amelia stepped closer, her hands coming up to rest on his chest. Because you are. Their first kiss happened right there on the university quad, with students walking past and Nathan's expensive car parked in a no-parking zone. Amelia rose up on her tiptoes just as Nathan cupped her face in his hands, and when their lips met, the world around them ceased to exist. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, as if they were both afraid of breaking something precious. But when Amelia's hands fisted in Nathan's shirt and pulled him closer, gentle became desperate. Nathan's arms wrapped around her waist, lifting her slightly off the ground as their mouths moved together with weeks of built-up longing. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Nathan rested his forehead against Amelia's rail. That was Nathan started. Perfect. Amelia finished, her voice barely above a whisper. I was going to say life-changing, but perfect works too. Amelia laughed, the sound making Nathan's heart skip beats. We should probably move. I think you're about to get a parking ticket. Worth it, Nathan murmured, but he reluctantly set her back on her feet. From that day forward, Nathan became a constant presence in Amelia's world. He attended her study groups, charming her classmates with his genuine interest in their work. He showed up at the library with coffee and pastries when she had late-night study sessions. He even convinced her to let him drive her to her weekend job at the campus clinic, claiming he had business meetings in the area, though Amelia suspected he was rearranging his entire schedule around hers. You know, you don't have to do this, Amelia said one evening as Nathan helped her organize her notes for an upcoming exam. I managed to study just fine before you came along. But you don't have to manage alone anymore, Nathan replied, looking up from the stack of flashcards he was making for her. Let me help. Let me be part of your life. You are part of my life. The biggest part, if I'm being honest. Nathan smiled, the expression soft and full of wonder. Really, Nathan. I think about you constantly. When I'm in class, I imagine telling you about what I learned. When something funny happens, you're the first person I want to share it with. When I have a bad day, all I want is to hear your voice. Nathan set down the flashcards and moved to sit beside her on the couch. Amelia, there's something I need to tell you. What? She asked, alarmed by his serious tone. I'm falling in love with you. No, that's not right. Nathan took her hands in his. I've already fallen completely, irrevocably, embarrassingly in love with you. Amelia felt her heart stop, then start again at double speed. Nathan, I know it's fast, and I know we haven't been dating very long, but I can't pretend anymore that this is just a casual relationship for me. You're it, Amelia. You're everything I didn't know I was looking for. Amelia studied his face, seeing nothing but honesty and vulnerability in those slate blue eyes. You want to know something? What? I was already planning how to tell you I love you too. Nathan's smile was brilliant, transforming his entire face. Really. I love how you listen to my dreams like they matter. I love how you remember every little thing I tell you. I love how you make me feel like the most important person in the world. Amelia moved closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. I love you, Nathan Bennett. All of you. This time when they kissed, it was with the desperate intensity of two people who had found something precious and had no intention of letting it go. Nathan's hands tangled in Amelia's hair as she melted against him, both of them pouring months of longing and newfound love into the connection between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathless and slightly dazed, Amelia rested her head on Nathan's shoulder. So, what happens now? She asked. Nathan's arms tightened around her. Now we build something beautiful together. Even though our worlds are so different, especially because they're different. You make me want to be better, Amelia. You make me want to use what I have to help people, to make a difference. And maybe I can give you the resources to help even more people than you ever imagined. Amelia tilted her head to look at him. We're really doing this, aren't we? Falling in love, despite logic and reason. We're really doing this, Nathan confirmed, pressing a kiss to her temple, and I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Outside, snow began to fall, covering the city in a blanket of white, but inside Amelia's small apartment, wrapped in Nathan's arms, with the taste of their promises still on her lips, Amelia had never felt warmer or more at home. She was in love with a billionaire who looked at her like she was worth more than all his money combined. And for the first time in her life, she truly believed in happily ever after. Chapter 7. The Kiss That Ignites Everything. 3 weeks after their first I love you, Amelia and Nathan had fallen into a rhythm of stolen moments and burning glances. Nathan would arrive at her apartment most evenings with takeout from whatever restaurant had caught his fancy, and they'd spread textbooks and containers of food across a small coffee table, studying and eating, while their legs tangled together on the couch. But the tension between them was becoming impossible to ignore. It simmered beneath every casual touch, every shared laugh, every moment when their eyes met across a crowded room. Nathan's hand would linger when he helped her with her coat. Amelia would catch herself staring at his mouth when he talked, wondering what it would feel like to kiss him without the careful restraint they'd been maintaining. They were both being careful, so respectful of boundaries neither had explicitly set, but the careful distance was beginning to feel like torture. On a Friday evening in late October, Nathan picked Amelia up from her last class with a mysterious smile and a refusal to tell her where they were going. "Just trust me," he said, opening the passenger door with a flourish. "I want to show you something." Amelia had learned to love Nathan's surprises. In the past month, he'd taken her to private museum exhibitions, surprise picnics in hidden parks, and once even a private cooking class, where they'd laughed until their sides hurt, while failing spectacularly at making pasta from scratch. This time, he drove them out of the city to a winding road that led up into the hills. The further they climbed, the more Amelia's curiosity grew, especially when Nathan pulled into what appeared to be a private driveway marked only by an elegant but discreet sign reading Starlight Observatory. "Nathan, what is this place?" Amelia asked as they wound up a tree-lined drive. "Something I thought you'd appreciate," Nathan said, his eyes bright with anticipation. "You mentioned once that you used to stargaze with your grandmother." Amelia's breath caught. She had mentioned that weeks ago in one of their late-night text conversations, her grandmother had taught her to identify constellations from their tiny backyard, telling her stories about the myths behind each pattern of stars. The observatory sat at the top of the hill like something from a fairy tale, an elegant building with a copper dome that gleamed in the setting sun. Nathan led her through doors that opened onto what appeared to be a private viewing platform, complete with professional-grade telescopes and comfortable seating areas. "Nathan," Amelia breathed, turning in a slow circle to take it all in. "This is incredible. How did you?" "I may have made a donation to the astronomy department in exchange for private access tonight," Nathan said, looking slightly embarrassed. "The curator is a friend of mine from college. I thought I wanted to give you something that connected to your memories with your grandmother." Amelia felt tears prick her eyes. In a world where Nathan could have given her expensive jewelry or lavish trips, he'd chosen to give her something that honored her most precious memories. It was so thoughtful, so perfectly Nathan, that she felt her heart expand until she thought it might burst. "You're amazing," she whispered, reaching for his hand. Nathan's fingers intertwined with hers, and Amelia felt that familiar spark of electricity that happened every time they touched. "Wait until you see the stars from here. The city lights can't reach us up here." As if on cue, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. Nathan led Amelia to a comfortable love seat positioned perfectly for skywatching, and as the darkness deepened, stars began to appear like scattered diamonds across black velvet. "Oh," Amelia gasped, as the full majesty of the night sky revealed itself. Away from the city's glow, the stars were brilliant and numerous, stretching endlessly above them. "Nathan, it's perfect." They sat close together, Amelia's head on Nathan's shoulder as he pointed out constellations, and she shared the stories her grandmother had told her. The observatory's curator had left them a bottle of wine and some soft music playing from hidden speakers, creating an atmosphere so romantic that Amelia felt like she was living in a dream. "There," Amelia said, pointing toward a cluster of stars. "That's Andromeda. My grandmother used to say she was the most beautiful princess in all the heavens, but she was also brave enough to face monsters, like someone else I know," Nathan murmured against her hair. Amelia turned to look at him, struck by the intensity in his voice. "Nathan, you're like her," Nathan said, his hand coming up to cup Amelia's face. "Beautiful, beyond belief, but brave enough to face anything. Medical school, financial struggles, me." "You're not a monster to be faced," Amelia protested, though her breath hitched at the tender way he was looking at her. "Sometimes I feel like someone from a different world who has no business falling in love with someone as pure and good as you." "Nathan Bennett," Amelia said firmly, shifting to face him fully, "you are not a monster. You're kind and generous and thoughtful. You make me feel cherished every single day." "Amelia," Nathan's voice was rough with emotion, "I need you to know something." "What?" "I've never loved anyone the way I love you. I didn't even know I was capable of feeling this much. You've turned my entire world upside down, and I've never been happier about anything in my life." Amelia's heart pounded as she stared into his slate blue eyes, seeing her own feelings reflected back at her. "I love you too. So much it scares me sometimes." "What scares you?" "How much I need you," Amelia admitted. "How completely you've become part of who I am. I used to be so independent, so focused on my goals that nothing else mattered. But now I can't imagine my life without you in it." Nathan's thumb traced along her cheekbone, and Amelia leaned into his touch like a flower turning toward the sun. "You don't have to imagine it. I'm not going anywhere, Amelia. Not ever. Promise me," Amelia whispered, her hands fisting in his shirt. "Promise me, this is real." "This is the most real thing I've ever felt," Nathan said, his voice intense and certain. "You are the most real thing I've ever felt." The space between them seemed to crackle with electricity. Amelia was acutely aware of everything: the warmth of Nathan's hand on her face, the way his eyes had darkened, the way her own pulse was racing with anticipation. "Amelia," Nathan said, his voice dropping to something almost desperate, "I want to kiss you. Really kiss you. Not the careful, gentle kisses we've been sharing. I want to kiss you like you're mine." "I am yours," Amelia breathed. And that was all the invitation Nathan needed. His mouth crashed down on hers with weeks of pent-up passion, and Amelia melted into him with a soft moan that made Nathan's control snap completely. This wasn't the tender, exploratory kiss they'd shared on the university quad. This was desperate, consuming, full of months of longing and newly declared love. Amelia's hands tangled in Nathan's hair as he deepened the kiss, his tongue sweeping against hers in a way that made her entire body come alive. She'd been kissed before, but never like this, never with such intensity, such complete possession, such overwhelming passion, that she forgot where she ended, and he began. Nathan's hands roamed her back, pulling her closer until she was practically in his lap, both of them breathing hard against each other's mouths. When Amelia's teeth caught his lower lip, Nathan groaned deep in his throat, the sound sending fire through her veins. "God." "Amelia." Nathan panted against her mouth. "Do you have any idea what you do to me?" "Tell me," Amelia whispered, her own voice husky with desire. "You make me crazy," Nathan confessed, pressing hot kisses along her jaw. "I think about you constantly. I think about touching you, holding you, making you mine in every way possible." Amelia's breath caught at the raw honesty in his voice. "Nathan, I love your laugh," Nathan continued, his mouth finding the sensitive spot below her ear. "I love your brilliant mind. I love your compassionate heart. I love the way you look at me like I'm something precious." "You are precious," Amelia gasped as Nathan's lips trailed down her neck. "You're everything to me." Nathan pulled back to look at her, his hands framing her face with reverent care. "I want to worship every inch of you. I want to spend hours showing you how much you mean to me." "Then do it," Amelia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Show me." Nathan's eyes darkened further, and for a moment Amelia thought he might take her up on her invitation right there under the stars. But then he closed his eyes and took a shuddering breath, pressing his forehead against hers. "Not here," Nathan said, his voice rough with restraint. "Not for our first time. You deserve better than a semi-public observatory, no matter how romantic the setting." Amelia felt a surge of love for this man who wanted to give her everything, including the perfect moment. "Then take me home," she said simply. "Your home or mine?" "I don't care. I just want to be with you." Nathan's eyes flew open, searching her face. "Are you sure?" I've never been more sure of anything in my life, Amelia said, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. I love you, Nathan. I want to be with you in every way. Nathan stood abruptly, pulling Amelia to her feet and into his arms for another searing kiss that left them both breathless. My place, Nathan said when they broke apart. It's closer, and I want to take my time with you without worrying about your neighbors hearing. Amelia's cheeks flushed at the implication, but she nodded. Yes. The drive to Nathan's penthouse was a blur of stolen glances and hands that couldn't quite stay in appropriate places. Nathan kept one hand on the steering wheel and the other intertwined with Amelia's, occasionally bringing her fingers to his lips for soft kisses that made her squirm in her seat. When they finally reached his building, the elevator ride to the top floor felt eternal. They stood close together, not quite touching, but both vibrating with anticipation. Amelia could see Nathan's reflection in the polished elevator doors, his jaw clenched with restraint, his eyes dark with promise. Amelia, Nathan said as the elevator doors opened onto his private foyer. Yes, once we go through that door, everything changes. Amelia turned to face him fully, her eyes bright with love and certainty. Nathan, everything already changed the moment I accidentally sent you that text. Everything changed when you decided to help a stranger. Everything changed when we fell in love. Nathan cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs tracing her cheekbones. I love you so much it terrifies me. Good, Amelia said with a smile that made Nathan's heart skip. Because I love you just as much. Nathan unlocked his front door and swept Amelia into his arms, carrying her across the threshold like a bride. As the door closed behind them, sealing them into their own private world, Amelia knew that this was just the beginning of forever. Under the stars, they had promised each other their hearts. Tonight, they would promise each other everything else. Chapter 8. Love Conquers All. The morning after they first made love, Amelia woke up in Nathan's arms, feeling transformed. Every nerve ending hummed with remembered pleasure. And when Nathan stirred beside her, pressing sleepy kisses to her shoulder, she thought she might die from pure happiness. Good morning, beautiful, Nathan murmured against her skin, his voice rough with sleep and contentment. Amelia hummed, turning in his arms to face him. Is it always going to feel like this? Like what? Nathan asked, though his smile suggested he already knew. Like I'm floating, like I never want to leave this bed. Like you've ruined me for anyone else for the rest of my life? Nathan's smile turned possessive. That's the plan. I intend to ruin you so thoroughly that you'll never even think about anyone else. Mission accomplished. Amelia laughed, then grew serious as she traced the line of his jaw. Nathan, last night was perfect. Nathan finished, catching her hand and pressing it flat against his chest over his heart. You're perfect. They spent the morning in bed, making love again with the lazy intensity of two people who finally had all the time in the world. Nathan worshipped every inch of Amelia's warm brown skin, telling her over and over how beautiful she was, how much he loved her, how she was everything he'd never known he needed. But their perfect bubble was shattered 3 days later when Amelia's phone rang during one of Nathan's board meetings. Amelia Carter. The voice was crisp, professional, and completely unfamiliar. Yes, this is Amelia. This is Lauren Hayes from the Seattle Tribune. I was hoping to get a comment from you about your relationship with Nathan Bennett. Amelia's blood turned to ice. I'm sorry. What? We're running a story about Mr. Bennett's new girlfriend. Our sources indicate that he's been paying your tuition and expenses. Can you confirm whether you're in a romantic relationship with him in exchange for financial support? The words hit Amelia like physical blows. That's absolutely not what this is. So, you deny that Mr. Bennett has given you money? Amelia closed her eyes, her heart racing. I have no comment. Miss Carter, we're going to run this story with or without your input. It would be better for everyone if you simply told the truth about the nature of your arrangement with Mr. Bennett. Amelia hung up without another word, her hands shaking as she immediately called Nathan. They think I'm some kind of escort, Amelia said without preamble when Nathan answered. A reporter just called, asking about our arrangement. What? Nathan's voice was sharp with anger. What exactly did they say? Amelia repeated the conversation, her voice growing smaller with each word. By the end, she was fighting back tears. Amelia, listen to me. Nathan said, his voice fierce and protective. "This is garbage journalism looking for a scandal where none exists. We know the truth about our relationship. But, Nathan, what if people believe it? What if this ruins your reputation? What if it affects my medical career before it even starts? Then we'll deal with it together. Amelia, I love you. That's not a scandal. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me." But the hits kept coming. By evening, Amelia's social media was flooded with messages from strangers calling her a gold digger, a user, worse things she couldn't even bear to read. A gossip blogger had somehow obtained photos of them together, captioned with speculation about Amelia's motives. When Nathan arrived at her apartment that night, he found Amelia sitting on her couch with her laptop closed, staring at nothing. "How bad is it?" Nathan asked gently, sitting beside her. "Bad," Amelia whispered. "They're saying I seduced you for money, that I'm using you, that everything between us is fake." Nathan's jaw clenched with fury. "None of that is true. I know it's not true. You know it's not true. But, Nathan, what if your business partners believe it? What if they think you're being manipulated by some scheming woman? What if this hurts your company? I don't care about my company if it means losing you." "But I care," Amelia said, finally looking at him with tears streaming down her face. "I care because your work matters, because you employ thousands of people, because you use your success to help others. I won't be the reason any of that gets destroyed." Nathan moved closer, pulling Amelia into his arms despite her weak resistance. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe we should take a break until this dies down, until people forget about us." "Absolutely not." Nathan's voice was firm, almost angry. "Amelia, I'm not walking away from the best thing in my life because of gossip and lies. It's not just gossip, Nathan. It's my reputation, too. What if medical schools start questioning my integrity? What if future employers think I slept my way through school? Then they don't deserve you," Nathan said fiercely. "Amelia, anyone who actually knows you would never believe such garbage. Your professors, your classmates, your family, they know who you are. But what about people who don't know me?" What about Nathan silenced her with a kiss, pouring all his desperation and love into the connection between them. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against hers. "I'm not losing you," Nathan said, his voice rough with emotion. "I don't care if I have to hire the best PR firm in the country, buy the newspaper that started this, or personally correct every person who believes these lies. I'm not losing you, Amelia." "Nathan, no. Listen to me." Nathan cupped her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. 3 months ago, I was sleepwalking through my life. I had everything money could buy, and nothing that actually mattered. Then a beautiful, brilliant woman accidentally texted me, and suddenly I remembered what it felt like to be alive. Amelia's tears flowed harder at the raw honesty in his voice. "You saved me, Amelia, not the other way around. Yes, I helped with your tuition, but you gave me something infinitely more valuable. You gave me love, purpose, a reason to get up in the morning. You made me want to be worthy of the amazing woman who somehow fell in love with me." "I do love you," Amelia whispered. "So much it scares me." "Then fight for us," Nathan pleaded. "Don't let them win. Don't let jealous, small-minded people destroy what we have." Amelia stared into his slate-blue eyes, seeing nothing but love and fierce determination. This man was willing to risk everything for her: his reputation, his business relationships, his carefully constructed public image, all because he loved her. "What do you want to do?" Amelia asked finally. Nathan's smile was sharp and dangerous. "I want to show the world exactly who Amelia Carter is and why I'm so completely in love with her. I want to make it impossible for anyone to question your integrity or our relationship." "How?" "Leave that to me," Nathan said, pressing a soft kiss to her lips. "Just trust me." The next morning, Nathan called a press conference. Amelia watched from the green room as he took the podium, looking every inch the powerful billionaire he was. But when he spoke, his voice carried a warmth and sincerity that she'd only heard in their private moments. "Ladies and gentlemen, I've called this conference to address some recent speculation about my personal life. 3 months ago, I received a text message meant for someone else. It was from a young woman who was facing a crisis, and without thinking, I decided to help her. That decision led to the most important relationship of my life. Amelia held her breath as Nathan continued. Amelia Carter is not my girlfriend because I helped her financially. I helped her financially because she's an extraordinary person who deserves every opportunity to achieve her dreams. She's brilliant, compassionate, hardworking, and completely devoted to helping others. She's going to be an incredible doctor, and any hospital that hires her will be lucky to have her. Nathan's eyes found the camera, as if he were speaking directly to Amelia. Amelia didn't seduce me for money. She stole my heart with her kindness, her strength, and her unwavering integrity. She's never asked me for anything except the chance to pay back every penny I gave her. She's the most honorable person I've ever met, and I'm proud to love her. Amelia was crying openly by the time Nathan finished, and when he walked into the green room afterward, she launched herself into his arms. That was either very romantic or very stupid, Amelia said against his neck. Probably both, Nathan admitted, holding her tight. But I meant every word. I love you, Amelia said, pulling back to look at him. I love how you protect me, how you fight for us, how you're not afraid to tell the world how you feel. Then you'll stay. You'll fight for us too. Amelia's answer was a kiss that left no doubt about her feelings. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, she smiled against his lips. Try to get rid of me now, Bennett. That night, they made love with desperate intensity, both of them pouring all their fears, relief, and overwhelming love into every touch. Nathan worshipped Amelia's body like she was something sacred, telling her over and over how much she meant to him, how he'd never let anyone hurt her again. You're mine, Nathan growled against her throat as Amelia arched beneath him. Mine to love, mine to protect, mine to cherish for the rest of our lives. Yours, Amelia agreed breathlessly. Always yours. As they lay tangled together afterward, exhausted and blissfully content, Amelia traced lazy patterns on Nathan's chest. What happens now? She asked. Now we build the life we want together, Nathan said, pressing a kiss to the top of her head, and we never let anyone make us doubt what we have again. Promise me, Amelia whispered. I promise you forever, Nathan replied. Everything else is just details. Outside, the world continued to spin with its gossip and speculation. But inside their love, Amelia and Nathan had found something unbreakable, a connection that could weather any storm, overcome any obstacle, and emerge stronger than before. They had proven that love, real love, could conquer anything. Chapter 9. Building Paradise Together. 2 months after Nathan's press conference, Amelia and Nathan had become the power couple everyone admired, now for all the right reasons. The initial scandal had died down, replaced by genuine admiration for their love story and Amelia's academic achievements. Nathan's public defense had not only silenced critics, but elevated both their reputations in unexpected ways. Amelia threw herself into her final year of medical school with renewed vigor, and Nathan discovered that watching the woman he loved excel was more addictive than any business deal. He attended her presentations whenever possible, sitting in the back of lecture halls with the pride of a man watching his queen conquer the world. You know, you don't have to come to every single one of my case presentations, Amelia said one evening as they walked hand in hand across the university campus. I'm sure you have more important things to do than listen to me discuss cardiac pathology. Nothing is more important than watching you become the doctor you're meant to be, Nathan replied, bringing her hand to his lips for a soft kiss. Besides, I learned things. Did you know that the heart can literally break from emotional stress? Takotsubo, cardiomyopathy, broken heart syndrome. Amelia laughed, delighted that he'd been paying such close attention. You've been doing research. I've been trying to keep up with my brilliant girlfriend, Nathan said with a grin. Though I have to admit, your explanation of cellular respiration was over my head. Good thing you're pretty, Amelia teased, then grew more serious. Nathan, I still can't believe how much my life has changed. 6 months ago, I was worried about paying rent and buying textbooks. Now I'm conducting research at one of the best medical facilities in the country. All because you believed in me. No, Nathan said firmly, stopping to face her. You're conducting research because you're extraordinary. I just provided an opportunity. Everything. Else your intelligence, your dedication, your natural gift for healing. That's all you, Amelia. The research facility Nathan had funded was state-of-the-art. focusing on developing affordable medical technologies for underserved communities. Amelia had been selected as one of only 5 students to participate in the pilot program, and her project on portable diagnostic equipment was already generating interest from major medical manufacturers. Dr. Thompson wants to submit my research to the International Journal of Medical Innovation, Amelia said, still hardly believing it herself. If it gets published, I'll be a published researcher before I even graduate. It'll get published, Nathan said with absolute certainty. Your work is revolutionary, Amelia. You're going to change how medical care is delivered in rural and low-income communities. We're going to change it, Amelia corrected. None of this would be possible without your funding and support. Nathan's expression grew tender. I love that you say we. I love being part of your dreams. You're not just part of my dreams, Nathan. You've become my dreams. Everything I want for the future includes you. They were interrupted by Amelia's phone buzzing with a text from her research partner, Dr. Hannah Lee. Emergency at the lab. The prototype is working beyond our wildest expectations. You need to see this. Amelia's eyes widened as she read the message. Nathan, I have to go. I'll drive you, Nathan said immediately. At the research facility, Dr. Lee was practically vibrating with excitement. Amelia, the portable ultrasound unit you designed, we tested it on 3 different patients today, and the image quality is comparable to machines that cost 10 times as much. Amelia stared at the device she'd spent months perfecting. It was no bigger than a tablet, but it could provide high-quality diagnostic imaging in places where traditional equipment was impossible to transport or afford. This is going to save lives, Dr. Lee continued. We're talking about bringing advanced diagnostic capabilities to remote villages, disaster zones, developing nations. Nathan watched Amelia's face light up with the realization of what she'd accomplished, and he felt his heart swell with pride and love. This incredible woman hadn't just found a way to achieve her dreams. She'd found a way to change the world. I need to call my parents, Amelia said, tears of joy streaming down her face. They need to know that their sacrifices led to this. As Amelia stepped away to make her call, Dr. Lee turned to Nathan. Mr. Bennett, I hope you know what an extraordinary woman you have. Amelia's combination of technical skill, compassion, and innovative thinking is remarkable. In 30 years of research, I've rarely seen anything like it. I know exactly how extraordinary she is, Nathan replied, his voice thick with emotion. She reminds me every day. Later that evening, Nathan and Amelia celebrated at their favorite restaurant, the same small Italian place where they'd had their first official date. But this time, Nathan had arranged for them to have the entire restaurant to themselves, complete with a string quartet and Amelia's favorite flowers adorning every table. This is incredible, Amelia said, looking around at the romantic setup. Nathan, you didn't have to do all this. I wanted to, Nathan said, taking her hands across the table. I wanted tonight to be perfect because I have something important to ask you. Amelia's heart started racing. What kind of something? Nathan stood up, and Amelia's breath caught as he moved to kneel beside her chair. Amelia Carter, 6 months ago, you accidentally changed my entire life with a single text message. You've made me a better man, a happier man. A man who finally understands what love really means. Nathan, Amelia's voice was barely above a whisper. I love your brilliant mind and your compassionate heart. I love how you challenge me to be worthy of you. I love how you see the good in everyone, including me. I love how you make me want to use everything I have to make the world better, just like you do. Nathan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a ring box, opening it to reveal a stunning emerald-cut diamond surrounded by smaller stones that caught the candlelight like captured stars. I want to spend every day for the rest of my life watching you change the world. I want to be your partner in everything, your dreams, your challenges, your victories. Amelia, will you marry me? Amelia stared at the ring, then at Nathan's face, seeing nothing but love, hope, and absolute certainty in his blue eyes. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, yes, of course, yes. Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger with hands that shook slightly, then stood to pull her into his arms for a kiss that tasted like promise and forever. When they broke apart, both were crying and laughing at the same time. I love you so much, Amelia said against his lips. I can't wait to be your wife. Mrs. Amelia Bennett, Nathan said, testing out the sound. It's perfect. Just one condition, Amelia said with a mischievous smile. Anything. When we get married, I want a honeymoon at that observatory where we first kissed under the stars. Done, Nathan laughed. Though I should warn you, I'm planning to keep you there for at least a month. Only a month? Amelia teased. I was hoping for longer. They spent the rest of the evening planning their future. A spring wedding, a honeymoon that would combine stargazing with visits to medical facilities in developing countries where Amelia's research could make the biggest impact. A life spent building something beautiful together. I have one more surprise, Nathan said as they prepared to leave the restaurant. I've been working with the board to establish the Amelia Carter Foundation for Medical Innovation. Amelia stared at him in shock. Nathan, you can't name a foundation after me. I can, and I did. It's going to fund research and development of affordable medical technologies for underserved populations. Everything you're passionate about, everything you want to accomplish, we're going to have the resources to make it happen on a global scale. We're going to change the world together, Amelia said in wonder. We already are, Nathan replied, spinning her around in the middle of the empty restaurant. Every day with you changes my world for the better. As they drove home through the city lights, Amelia's engagement ring catching the streetlight and Nathan's hand warm in hers, Amelia marveled at how drastically her life had changed. A year ago, she'd been a struggling student with big dreams and limited options. Now she was an engaged woman with a published research project, a foundation named in her honor, and a fiancé who loved her with the kind of intensity that poets wrote about. Penny for your thoughts, Nathan said, glancing over at her as they stopped at a red light. I'm just thinking about how perfect this all is, Amelia said. How perfect we are together, even though I'm insanely wealthy and you used to worry about bus fare. Especially because of that, Amelia said seriously. You could have chosen any woman in the world, someone from your social circle who understood your lifestyle. Instead, you chose me, someone who challenges you, who comes from a completely different world, who makes you work for love instead of just expecting it. And you could have chosen any of those brilliant medical students who worship the ground you walk on, Nathan countered. Instead, you chose the emotionally unavailable billionaire with trust issues. Former trust issues, Amelia corrected. And you're not emotionally unavailable. You're the most emotionally present person I've ever known. Only with you, Nathan said softly. You're the only person who's ever made me feel safe enough to be completely myself. That's how I know this is forever, Amelia said, reaching over to touch his face. Because when I'm with you, I'm the truest version of myself I've ever been. That night, they made love with the desperate passion of two people who had found something precious and had no intention of ever letting it go. Nathan worshipped every inch of Amelia's body while whispering promises about their future, and Amelia showed him with every touch how completely she belonged to him. My fiancé, Nathan murmured against her throat as they lay tangled together afterward. My future husband, Amelia replied, her voice full of wonder and contentment. Are you ready for forever with me? Nathan asked. Amelia looked into his eyes, seeing their entire future reflected back at her. Medical conferences and charity galas, quiet mornings and passionate nights. Children who would grow up knowing they were deeply loved. A partnership that would span decades and change countless lives. I've been ready since the moment I accidentally sent you that text, Amelia said. I just didn't know it yet. Best mistake either of us ever made, Nathan said, pulling her closer. Not a mistake, Amelia corrected sleepily. Destiny. As they drifted off to sleep in each other's arms, both of them knew that they had found something extraordinary. The kind of love that transforms everything it touches, the kind of partnership that makes both people better than they ever imagined they could be. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new adventures. But tonight they had each other, and that was everything. Chapter 10. Forever begins. The auditorium buzzed with excitement as hundreds of medical school graduates filed onto the stage in their caps and gowns. Amelia stood with her class, her pulse racing with pride, accomplishment, and overwhelming gratitude. After years of struggle, sacrifice, and relentless determination, she was finally here, about to become Dr. Exaggeration 2.2, Amelia Carter. From the front row, Nathan watched with tears in his eyes as the woman he loved more than life itself prepared to receive her medical degree. Beside him sat Amelia's parents, Grace and William, both crying openly with pride. Zoe, now a sophisticated 18-year-old with a full scholarship to film school, was recording everything while wiping away tears. "That's my daughter," William whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "That's my baby girl becoming a doctor." Nathan reached over and squeezed the older man's shoulder. Over the past year, Amelia's family had become his own, welcoming him with the same unconditional love they showed Amelia. William had stopped being intimidated by Nathan's wealth months ago, and Grace treated him like the son she'd never had. "She's incredible," Nathan said, his own voice rough. "You should be so proud." "We are," Grace said, reaching over to pat Nathan's hand, "and we're grateful every day that she found you. You've given our daughter wings to fly." When Amelia's name was called, the entire auditorium seemed to hold its breath. She walked across the stage with grace and confidence, her warm brown skin glowing under the lights, her smile radiant enough to power the entire building. As the dean placed the hood over her shoulders and handed her the diploma that represented years of dreams and hard work, Amelia looked directly at Nathan. Their eyes met across the crowded auditorium, and in that moment, nothing else existed. Nathan mouthed, "I love you," and Amelia's smile grew even brighter as she mouthed it back. The applause was thunderous, but all Amelia could hear was the sound of her own heart, singing with joy. "Ladies and gentlemen," the dean announced, "I present to you Dr. Amelia Carter, graduating summa cum laude with a specialization in emergency medicine and a focus on global health initiatives." Nathan was on his feet immediately, applauding with the fervor of a man watching his goddess receive her crown. Around him, Amelia's family cheered loudly enough to be heard 3 rows away, and Nathan couldn't have been more proud to be part of this incredible moment. After the ceremony, Nathan found Amelia surrounded by classmates and professors, all congratulating her on her achievements. But when she saw him approaching, she broke away from the crowd and ran straight into his arms. "Dr. Carter," Nathan said, spinning her around as she laughed with pure joy. "God, that sounds perfect." "It feels perfect," Amelia said against his ear. "Everything feels perfect." "How does it feel to have conquered the world?" Nathan asked, setting her down but keeping her close. "Like I'm ready to conquer the next one," Amelia replied with a grin. "Dr. Thompson wants me to present my research at the International Medical Innovation Conference in Geneva next month." "Then we'll go to Geneva," Nathan said without hesitation. "I'll have the jet ready whenever you need it." "Our jet," Amelia corrected, her engagement ring catching the afternoon sunlight. "Remember, what's yours is mine now." "Everything I have is yours," Nathan said seriously. "It always has been from the moment you accidentally texted me." Their families joined them then, and the next hour was a blur of photographs, congratulations, and plans for the celebration dinner Nathan had arranged at the city's most exclusive restaurant. But through it all, Amelia felt like she was floating, carried by the overwhelming love and support of the people who mattered most to her. "Speech! Speech!" Zoe called out during dinner, clinking her glass with her fork until the entire private dining room fell silent. Amelia stood, her hand finding Nathan's automatically as she looked around the table at the faces of everyone she loved. "A year ago, I thought my dreams were dying," she began, her voice clear and strong. "I thought I'd lost everything because I made a mistake. But that mistake led me to the love of my life." She looked down at Nathan, whose eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Nathan, you didn't just save my dreams. You made them bigger, bolder, more beautiful than I ever imagined they could be. You taught me that love isn't just about finding someone who accepts your dreams. It's about finding someone who helps you dream bigger. And you taught me that success isn't measured in dollars or business deals," Nathan replied, standing to wrap his arms around her. "It's measured in love, in the lives we touch, in the difference we make together." To Amelia and Nathan, William raised his glass, his voice proud and emotional. "To love that changes everything." "To love that changes everything," the table echoed, and Amelia felt her heart might burst from the sheer magnitude of her happiness. Later that evening, Nathan drove Amelia to their special place, the observatory where they'd first kissed under the stars. But this time, the entire facility was decorated with thousands of tiny lights, creating a fairyland of sparkle and romance. "Nathan," Amelia breathed as they walked up the path. "What is all this?" "This," Nathan said, stopping at the same spot where he'd proposed, "is where we're getting married tomorrow." Amelia spun to face him, her eyes wide with shock. "Tomorrow? But we planned the wedding for next month. The venue, the flowers, the guests are all taken care of," Nathan said with a smile that was equal parts mischievous and tender. "Your parents know. Zoe knows. Everyone important will be here. I just couldn't wait another month to make you my wife. But the dress is hanging in the observatory, delivered an hour ago. Grace helped me pick it out months ago, just in case." Amelia stared at him in amazement. "You planned a secret wedding?" "I planned our perfect wedding," Nathan corrected. "Under the stars where we fell in love, with just our families and closest friends. No paparazzi, no society pressure, just us and the promises we want to make to each other." Tears streamed down Amelia's face as she looked around at the magical setting Nathan had created. "It's perfect," she whispered. "It's absolutely perfect." "So, you'll marry me tomorrow?" Nathan asked, suddenly looking vulnerable, despite all his careful planning. "I'll marry you right now if you want," Amelia laughed through her tears. "I've been ready to be your wife since the day you told me you loved me." The next evening, as the sun set behind the hills and the first stars began to appear, Amelia walked down an aisle of rose petals toward the man who had changed her entire world. She wore a dress of flowing ivory silk that made her look like a goddess, and when Nathan saw her approaching, he had to grip the altar to keep from falling to his knees. "You're breathtaking," he whispered when she reached him, taking her hands in his. "You're everything," Amelia whispered back, and they were both crying before the ceremony even began. Zoe served as Amelia's maid of honor, while Nathan's best friend from college stood as his best man. Amelia's parents sat in the front row beside Nathan's mother, who had flown in from New York and was already planning to spoil her future grandchildren. The officiant was Dr. Thompson, who had gotten ordained online specifically for their wedding. "We're gathered here tonight under the stars to witness the union of two souls who found each other through the most beautiful accident," he began. "Amelia and Nathan, your love story reminds us all that sometimes the universe conspires to bring together two people who are meant to change each other's lives." When it came time for vows, Nathan went first, his voice strong despite the tears in his eyes. "Amelia, when you accidentally texted me 11 months ago, you thought you were asking your father for help, but what you were really doing was answering a prayer I didn't even know I'd been making. You saved me from a life without meaning, without love, without hope. You are my heart, my home, my purpose. I promise to love you fiercely, support your dreams relentlessly, and stand by your side as we change the world together. You are my miracle, and I will spend every day of our lives making sure you know how precious you are." Amelia was sobbing openly by the time Nathan finished, and it took her several moments to compose herself enough to speak her own vows. "Nathan, you taught me that love isn't just about finding someone who accepts you as you are. It's about finding someone who inspires you to become everything you're meant to be. You didn't just help me achieve my dreams, you helped me discover dreams I never knew I had. You are my anchor, my wings, my greatest adventure. I promise to love you completely, challenge you constantly, and build a life with you that honors the incredible gift we've been given. You are my heart's home, and I choose you every day for the rest of our lives." When they kissed as husband and wife, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe itself was celebrating their union. The small gathering erupted in cheers and applause, but Amelia and Nathan were lost in each other, sealed together in a promise that would last forever. The reception was intimate and perfect, with dancing under the stars and toasts that made everyone cry happy tears. But the most magical moment came when Nathan and Amelia snuck away from their own party to stand at the telescope where they'd first kissed. "Mrs. Bennett," Nathan said, pulling her close as they swayed to music only they could hear. "Dr. Mrs. Bennett," Amelia corrected with a laugh. "I'm keeping both titles." "Wouldn't have it any other way," Nathan murmured, spinning her slowly under the starlight. "How does it feel to be married to me?" "Like coming home," Amelia said simply. "Like every struggle, every challenge, every moment of doubt was worth it, because it led me to you." "I love you so much. It scares me sometimes," Nathan confessed, his forehead resting against hers. "Good," Amelia said with a smile that could have powered the entire observatory. Because I love you just as much, and I plan to spend the next 60 years showing you exactly how much. They made love that night in the honeymoon suite Nathan had prepared at the observatory, with floor-to-ceiling windows that gave them a perfect view of the stars. It was passionate and tender, desperate and gentle, a claiming that marked the beginning of their forever. "Promise me something," Amelia whispered afterward, her wedding dress puddled on the floor beside them. "Anything. Promise me we'll never forget how this feels. How perfect we are together, how much we love each other, how grateful we are for that mistaken text that brought us together." "I promise," Nathan said, pressing a kiss to her temple, "though I should point out that it wasn't really a mistake. I think it was fate." "Fate? Think about it," Nathan said, his voice soft with wonder. "Out of all the wrong numbers you could have texted, out of all the billions of people in the world, you found me someone who needed you just as much as you needed help. Someone who would see your message and think, 'This woman is extraordinary,' instead of, 'This woman is crazy.'" Henry. Amelia lifted her head to look at him, seeing their entire love story reflected in his slate-blue eyes. "You really think it was fate? I think you were meant to be mine from the moment you were born," Nathan said seriously. "I think every choice we made, every path we took, every mistake and triumph led us exactly where we needed to be so we could find each other." "Then I guess I should thank the universe for making me terrible at checking phone numbers," Amelia laughed. "The universe and your tendency to text while crying," Nathan agreed with a grin. As they drifted off to sleep in each other's arms, surrounded by starlight and wrapped in the kind of love that people spend lifetimes searching for, both Amelia and Nathan knew they had found something truly extraordinary. Their love story had begun with a desperate text sent to the wrong number, but it would continue for decades to come. There would be children who grew up knowing they were deeply loved, charitable foundations that changed millions of lives, medical breakthroughs that started in a small research lab and spread around the world. But none of that mattered as much as this: the way they fit together perfectly, the way they made each other better, the way their love had transformed two lost souls into something whole and beautiful and eternal. Amelia had started as a desperate student texting her father for help. She was ending her wedding night as Dr. Amelia Bennett, beloved wife of an extraordinary man, ready to change the world with the power of their combined love. It was, as Nathan had promised on their first real date, the very best kind of trouble, the kind that lasted forever.